Lung 7 is 1.5 zoom proximal to the wrist crease, off the line, just proximal to the styloid process between the two tendons. Lung 7 is a very important point. We can see that it belongs to several different point categories, and it has a lot of functions. So this means that lung 7 has a wide range of actions, and is very commonly used in the clinic. So let's go through these functions one by one. First, remember that in the beginning, we said that the lung governs the exterior and the opening and closing of the pores. Well, lung 7 is one of our major points for releasing the exterior and expelling wind for both wind cold and wind heat. So fever and aversion to cold are signs that we have this pathogen on the exterior. And like we said before, if a wind cold or wind heat pathogen gets into the lung, it can block the descending of lung qi, resulting in cough, wheezing, or shortness of breath. So lung 7 also descends lung qi to treat these symptoms. And if that wind cold or wind heat pathogen interferes with the lung's action of descending the fluids, we may see facial edema, sudden swelling of the limbs, or urinary retention. So lung 7 regulates the water passages to treat those symptoms as well. In addition to external wind, lung 7 also treats internal wind as well, especially in the head and upper body. That's why we say it pacifies wind and phlegm, treating things like headache, facial paralysis, and epilepsy. Ma Danyang named it one of his 11 heavenly star points for treating one-sided headache, wind painful obstruction and numbness of the entire body, phlegm obstruction in the upper body, and lockjaw. Gao listed it as one of his 4 command points, being the command point for the head and nape. So lung 7 is often used for headache and stiff neck. Lung 7 is also the opening point for the renmai, or conception vessel. The conception vessel is one of the 8 extraordinary channels that we'll talk more about later. For now, we can just say that it's an extraordinary channel that runs up the anterior midline and connects with the uterus and genitals. So that's why we see lung 7 treating conditions like uterine problems and genital problems. It's not that these things have anything to do with the lung, it's just that this point in particular is connected to the renmai, so that's why it can treat those things. And finally, lung 7 is a luo connecting point, and this gives lung 7 some very interesting features. So let's recall the functions of the luo connecting points. Number 1, they treat disorders of the yin-yang paired channel. So here we see that lung 7 opens the nose to treat nasal congestion and sneezing. Remember, the lung channel itself doesn't go to the nose, it only goes as high as the throat. But its yin-yang pair, the large intestine channel, does go to the nose, so that's why lung 7, the luo point, is able to treat nasal congestion. Next, luo connecting points treat disorders along the pathway of the luo connecting channel. So we see here pain in the wrist, thenar eminence, and thumb, because that's the pathway of the luo connecting channel that we talked about in the beginning. And finally, luo connecting points also treat psycho-emotional disorders. So here we see poor memory, palpitations, and laughter, again highlighting the connection between the lung and the heart. The name of lung 7 is Lie Jue, which means broken sequence. And this is referring to the fact that lung 7 is off the line of the lung channel, closer to the large intestine channel. So that's a lot of things, but like we said, lung 7 is a very important point, so you should probably know all of those things.